Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. A little while ago I pulled out this apricot blank, turned it green, and then I thought I'd try to microwave this one. And so after I turned the blank, microwaved it on my microwave oven on a 60-minute cycle at the lowest setting. Did that a bunch of times, but it didn't seem to ever get warm and get going, so I cranked it up to 2. The second setting in 60 minutes, and it finally started getting warm, but then I perhaps was too aggressive because it started developing some very nasty checks inside, so I stopped and decided that maybe there's room for patience in turning green blanks after all. Now this one, I can't blame all the cracks and checks on the microwave, because this was, after all, crotch wood. It had 3 main branches going out, one over here, one here, and one here. But then, as I noticed, there's actually a couple more little limb piths in here that each has its own special crack. So this is a salvage operation. Hopefully it'll turn out, but we'll see what it does.
I pre-treated all cracks with CA glue to begin with. I didn't want to fill them at the initial point because I thought that many of them would turn out as I retrued the bowl and cut it to its final shape, and in fact many of them did disappear. Later on, after it was nearly shaped, nearly to final, I did treat all the cracks again with CA glue and with apricot sawdust. The CA glue tends to turn the sawdust several shades darker, so it actually tends to accentuate the lines that are showing up or the cracks that are showing up. But in this case, I think it added to it. It shows some the veins coming out from the pith, and so I don't mind. The microwave drying itself was very frustrating. At 10% power, the bowl never seemed to warm up. I put the microwave outside in case anything started on fire. It got too hot and started on fire. And so I had to run out every hour approximately to restart the microwave, because the microwave could only time for 59 minutes and 59 seconds at a time. So it was quite an ordeal to go out as many times as I had to start it. At 20% power, once I got frustrated with the 10, it still took a long time and a lot of cycles. I probably did at least 20 cycles over a couple of days. Then I noticed that the drying checks had developed once it did get warmed, and decided that patience still had its part in turning green wood. And at least for me, I did not yet have a good process or formula for using the microwave. On this bowl, I decided to have a fairly sharp rim. In fact, later on I didn't quite finish stopping the bowl as it was turning and actually cut my thumb on the rim of the bowl. So later on you may see that I have a band-aid on my thumb. Drew nice few drops of blood, little gouge. I was tempted to use the CA glue on my thumb, but decided that I'll just, since I didn't have medical grade CA, I'll just settle for a band-aid and let it heal that way. When turning a green bowl, the shavings really fly off, and it's really gratifying to see the bowl quickly emerge. Big shavings and such, and there's no sanding when you're rough turning a green blank. That comes later. But when turning a dry bowl, the wood is significantly harder, and at least I have to be a lot more careful, because now it's getting down to the final dimensions. I don't want to make any bad mistakes that would cause it severe damage and make it go into the scrap heap. So take a bit slower. The wood, because it's hard, cuts slower, and I take it a bit slower, a little bit more careful on that also. And then of course there's a lot of sanding. I'm not quite up to Mike Mahoney's standard of just finishing only with a gouge. So I do rely still on sandpaper. I probably should sharpen my tools more, but that's coming too. I used a combination of hand sanding and power sanding, and actually went in with some wet or dry paper with the oil with 400 grit and knocked it down just a tad more, and it makes it very nice on this bowl. I think that's sufficient for this bowl, as busy as the figure is on that. Turning the foot, I had a couple of lessons learned here. I probably should have spent a little bit more time trying to true it up before I wound the tailstock into it. My vacuum chuck is a little bit puny at this time. It will only go so many cycles before it gets too warm and takes a break. So I used the tailstock also, and after you jam it in, of course, it doesn't like to be finely adjusted. So I had to work on the bottom just a little bit more than I would have liked to, and it was a little bit oblong, but it doesn't show in the final product. And then the finished sanding on the outer shape, the foot. I chiseled off the final little nubbin. Oh, the other lesson learned is to not take the nubbin off that goes in the original one that is then replaced by the dovetail jaws. I want to leave that nubbin there to give me a better idea of where the center is, so that I can use it later when I'm turning the foot. So that's a lesson learned for me, or at least a lesson appreciated now. And the final bowl, the checks I think are a good highlight. The grain's nice, the wood's nice and dense and solid. It's no longer a salvage, it's a keeper. I like it.